Hello, everybody. Welcome to So Many Sequels, your book club for movies. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
Your book camp.
And I'm David.
Your book camp.
Your movie camp for movies.
Your movie camp for book club.
Your movie camp for books.
Yeah.
Figure that out.
Yeah.
Nah, we already did that. That was April. We did book club.
That's true. Welcome to the show. We're talking about summer camp for June.
Woo! Summer.
Applause
Listen,
here.
I'm in my summer break mode. I just woke up out of bed. I ain't awake yet.
You just rolled.
I don't know what you're saying. I'm just tired.
Yeah, we're not quite in the dog days yet, but
No.
they're soon.
It was like 90 degrees today. What you talking about?
That's true. It does.
And it ain't. Well, I mean, it's June, so yeah, that makes sense. That tracks.
That's true. It is June. Summer camp. June. Have you guys ever been to summer camp?
Been to some church camps.
Church camps?
I went to a golf camp. I never went to a summer camp.
I have never been to a summer camp either. I've been to like vacation Bible school. I don't even think that counts as church camp.
No.
Man, listen,
So.
I went to a friend. He would always invite me to his summer VBS, right? I didn't go growing up, and so I was terrified to go because I was like, I don't want nobody to ask me questions because I don't know the answers. And I remember vividly playing this game. We were all in a circle and they were rolling a ball back and forth to people, and you had to answer questions, and they rolled the ball to me and I caught it, and they said, I was like, oh God, I don't know the words. I don't know the answers. What is Jesus's mother or father, parents, whatever? And I said, oh, Mary and Joseph, I know that one. And they went, what about God? And I went, I said, what the heck, man? I knew this one.
Is it what?
You gonna hang me up like that on technicality?
Yes, as they called me out like that, I was like, come on, man, I'm a guest.
I don't even go here. I always thought when I went, and I feel like they have that tickled me. I feel like they have a real branding issue because they've got it with Vacation Bible School. They've got it right with that first word. We love vacation.
We do.
Where they ruin it is the third word, school.
Yeah.
That's true.
Now, you're not going to get a bunch of kids excited to go to school right after they got out of school, even if you put vacation in front of it. It don't matter. I think they should name it like just Bible Vacation or something.
That's why they call it. That's why they kind of generally they've rebranded to just VBS.
Yeah,
it's kind of like how KFC is just KFC now. It's not really
it doesn't stand for MTV. It doesn't stand for anything.
No. Just sounds better. VBS. Let's just do
I
that.
do agree that VBS sounds better because you can't catch me slipping on school now.
No.
I'm not going there. Yeah,
Vacation Bible Recess.
I feel like real camp is a sleepaway camp, right? You're away from home. You're with a bunch of kids. Maybe you know some of them. You probably don't know most of them. And this is kind of what is shown and parodied in the movie we're talking about today, Wet Hot American Summer. This was my pick for the month to start off with. I will read now the Letterboxd log line for this movie. If you don't know anything about Wet Hot American Summer, hold on. I love the opener. High times, hard bodies, soft rock. The setting is Camp Firewood, the year 1981. It's the last day before everyone goes back to the real world, but there's still a summer's worth of unfinished business to resolve. At the center of the action is camp director Beth, who struggles to keep order while she falls in love with the local astrophysics professor. He is busy trying to save the camp from a deadly piece of NASA's Skylab, which is hurtling toward Earth. All that, plus a dangerous waterfall rescue, love triangles, misfits, cool kids, and talking vegetable cans. The questions will all be resolved, of course, at the big talent show at the end of the day. David, I know this movie was like not really a theatrical release, but it had some. So like what did it do?
It didn't do much of anything. So one of the aspects is they showed it at Sundance in like 2000 or early 2001. And it just really struggled to pick up a distributor. And so the only The only distributor that made a bid on it was USA Films, and apparently the filmmaker did not really want to go for their $100,000 offer, but the investors were like, take it. It's the only offer we got, take it. So they only released it in about 30 cities. And yeah, with that being the case, it didn't make a ton of money. It opened the weekend of July 27th, 2001 in the 61 spot for movies that were in the theater that week. That was just up from the last spot on the list, which was Recess School's Out in its 24th week. So that movie had been out for a while.
That was a good movie.
It made $17,481 in its opening week, just behind a re-release of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which brought in $27,000. Number one movie that weekend was Planet of the Apes, the Tim Burton 2001 film, which brought in $68 million. Jurassic Park 3, America's Sweethearts, which is a movie with Billy Crystal, Julia Roberts, John Cusack, I think. Legally Blonde was in its third week, bringing in $9 million. And then at number 5, you had a movie called The Score, starring, I believe, Robert De Niro and Ed Norton. I believe it's like a heist movie.
Interesting.
Never seen that one myself. If I kick out to its biggest release, so that was its opening release, but it also released about 5 weeks later in its most theaters, and that was 12. It was in 12 theaters across the country. And that particular week it did a little bit better, bringing in about $61,000. For its U.S. run, it would bring in $295,000 in the United States. It did not have an overseas release, so that is the same. The director, David Wayne, in 2011 said the budget was actually about $1.8 million, though he told investors it was $5 million so that they think there was more money put into it, which apparently worked. In the end, it's kind of a glorified direct-to-video movie because it was not in theaters for very long, only about 10 weeks, and it was never in very many cities. So it was kind of one of those movies that you just had to hear about and then go, and then get on DVD. I have extraneous info in the notes here from the other week. It was, best I can find, about the 307th movie of 2001. Which might be, I think I'm safe to say, I think this is the lowest movie in terms of box office we've ever had that wasn't like a streaming film. Number one movie in 2001 was Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, followed by Lord of the Rings, Shrek, Monsters, Inc., and Rush Hour 2. This is our 5th movie from 2001. It's not a bad list. We've reviewed for this podcast Ocean's 11, Hannibal, Lord of the Rings, and Shrek before. So check out those podcasts if you're interested in more 2001 thoughts.
Which one of these is not like the other?
Yeah, 2001 was certainly a year.
Rush Hour 2 up there is a number 5 movie?
You know, it's kind of funny because
nobody watches Rush Hour 2 anymore.
No.
Rush Hour 2 is great. I watched it just recently.
I agree, but when's the last time you watched Rush Hour 2?
2001.
Last year, I think. I think I saw that they had all 3 Rush Hours on Netflix, so I thought, well, I've never seen Rush Hour 3, but I'm not just going to watch Rush Hour 3. I got to watch the first 2.
Naturally.
Okay,
So-
fair.
Well, okay. I'll start with my
Cult classic. Let's start there.
Cult classic for sure. I avoided this movie as a kid because I thought it was like a sincere teen summer camp movie, like in the vein of the I don't know, like your Dazed and Confused and Fast Times, like old 80s teen movies. And I was like, I didn't want to watch that. That's not for me. It's 80s old stuff. I didn't even think I made the connection that it wasn't an old movie. But I took interest again when the TV show came out. Do you remember watching the TV show, Garrett? We watched the first one. You have any memories of this? It was a long time ago.
I genuinely thought it was a movie that came out.
No, so
I thought it was
a series came out on Netflix in 2015 called First Day of Camp, which is the prequel series. You know, the movie takes place on the last day. This takes place on the first day.
Right.
When I realized that the whole thing is absolutely absurd and ridiculous, I thought, I want to go back and watch this now. So I loved it a lot more from that perspective. And I still can't believe how incredibly stacked the cast was in 2001, which I just want to read off before we go to your guys' expectations, because we haven't said it yet. This movie has Janine Garofalo, David Hyde Pierce, Molly Shannon, Paul Rudd, Christopher Maloney, Michael Showalter, Marguerite Moreau, Ken Marino, Michael Ian Black, Amy Poehler, Bradley Cooper, Elizabeth Banks, Joe Latruglio, Judah Freelander, and H. John Benjamin in a voice role. Great,
Where he should
very
be.
funny list of people right here. So I just expected to enjoy, like 90-ish minutes with some very funny people. What about you guys? Have either of you seen it before?
No, this
Yes.
is the first time for me.
Then let's go with Garrett next, and then hear David last as the first timer.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm in the same boat as you. I didn't watch it as a kid. I didn't avoid it. I just didn't know about it. I think is more the case.
12 cities, I guess.
No, I don't believe so. So I had never seen it until, again, I had memories of watching something. I remember it as a movie, but TV series makes sense.
Probably binged
But
it.
I also, binged it and then watched the movie. I definitely remember that being a thing. And so I hadn't seen it since then. I agree that I just kind of expected to be entertained by entertaining people for quite a while. So that was my expectation.
David, first timer. What were you looking for? What were you thinking you were going to get out of this?
Mostly, I was just picturing something very Paul Ruddish. Like, that's all I really knew was Paul Rudd was in this. And Amy Poehler, I think I knew was in this. So I was just kind of expecting something that was like that vibe, role models type thing,
Sure.
I was expecting something probably kind of immature, but like with so much of the cast having like being very like they've all gone on to do like major sitcoms or SNL or
Huge movie.
VH1.
And some did I Love the 90s on VH1.
Yeah. And then you also got Bradley Cooper in there. So, I mean, like, there's a lot of stars in it. So I thought to myself, this is probably going to be a really interesting time capsule of a bunch of people before they were, like, as popular as they became. Obviously, you have a few people in here that were already pretty popular for 2001. But, yeah, it was kind of a big, it feels very... So, yeah, I was expecting something different. But I also didn't expect it to be quite so surreal, quite so... outlandish.
Yeah, they don't really waste a ton of time getting outlandish, but it does start fairly, innocuous, I guess. It opens in 1981. We're at summer camp. We meet campers who are just like crazy kids. Counselors are funny to me. They're all teenagers, but these are all very grown adults playing the teenagers, and so that's part of the joke that has to be explained in an audio format. I think they're acting like teenagers, but it's like got to be a clearly 30-year-old Bradley Cooper, right? I don't know.
I'm not sure how old
They're not young. They're not
They're
young.
not
They're
young.
not trying to play
They
young.
don't look young, and so we're immediately like, okay, this is something's off here, but we get this crazy group of characters. Beth is the camp director, Janine Garofalo. She's got a secret crush on David Hyde Pierce's astrophysics professor character. You've got Andy, who's like, he's Paul Rudd, and he's the cool guy, the slacker, the lifeguard. He's just cool. Gene, maybe one of the weirder guys. He's the cook, played by Christopher Maloney, who has a variety of kinks that he is trying to embrace, I think, and he is getting that help through a can of vegetables that we meet, played by H. John Benjamin. This is all going on in the opening here. Like I said, it doesn't waste a lot of time getting into the absurdity. I think I got to start with David here. You said it was surreal. When did that start to unravel for you?
Well, it starts off very much what I expected, kind of jokey, kind of a lot of, like there's some crass humor and things going on like that. First off, I want to mention, by the way, movie came out in 2001, set in 1981.
Yeah.
The distance between right now and when this movie came out is greater than the setting of the movie versus when it released. I just want to point out that more time has gone by.
Well, that was
really, when it first really went off the rails is a little deeper into the movie, and it's when a bunch of them go into town.
Yeah,
And
going into town.
At first, it starts with them like sneaking cigarettes and sneaking some beer, and then slowly they're like buying cocaine and getting strung out on heroin, and then they come back and nothing's happened. Like they come back as though none of that actually occurred, which did actually have one of my few like hard laughs, which is for some reason they all just like after they get out of the truck they just go run off and like just off camera you see they're just all staring at a wall.
Yes,
like they didn't go off to do anything. It's just kind of an off camera, but like you just see enough of them all just like face first into a shed. But yeah, it became at that point where I realized like structurally the movie is more similar to like something like an Airplane,
right?
Where like really wacky stuff will just happen, and then there'll be almost no acknowledgement of it. It'll just move on to the next bit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I was just gonna say it's not about anything really, and that's when you start to get a sense of that early. Everybody's motivations are pretty low key, except for like David Hyde Pierce, who is trying to save everyone's life. But even that is an absurd premise. But everyone else is just like trying to sleep with somebody, or trying to get back in time to sleep with somebody, or tell people that they like to sleep with people in weird ways. Like it's all very low stakes, teenagery, summer campy BS going on. Garrett, what were you thinking with this first act?
Yeah, I agree. It was just, I mean, for me, the first thing is seeing all of these casts. Like, again, you run through and only seeing it the one time before, even knowing who's in it, it's still just so unexpected to see. Especially Christopher Maloney, who, when you watch 10 years of SVU, it's a different time to see him playing such a different character, but it was quite enjoyable. So for me, it's just really fun to see Amy Poehler playing something, you know, before she's super famous, but like sets the stage. Seeing Elizabeth Banks in such a different role, but like all of them, again, nailing all of these things. And so for me, I'm just enjoying the setup, kind of getting to see what's going on. Already kind of knowing that it is way over the top and satirical, so I'm not too surprised by any of that. But just, again, I enjoy movies where people feel like they are enjoying what they are doing, and this is this. And so it really is a good way to suck you into the characters, even though, again, there's low stakes, there's not much going on, which makes it easy to kind of get who these people are playing. You can play on the stereotypes of all of the previous camp tropes that you kind of know about, even if you've never been to camp.
Yeah. What is do you guys have like a, it's kind of like watching a movie where with just a bunch of side missions going at once. What's your favorite side mission in this? Like, whose storyline were you most interested in following?
Gale. For me, it was Gale. Miley Shannon being coached by the kids on how to handle their emotions. Honestly, young kids like that, they are very aware of their emotions to some extent, because they're so good at simplifying some of the things. And so being, you know, the same age as Molly Shannon is in the movie now, I get that sometimes as a 35-year-old adult, you have a mental breakdown and you lose it and you don't necessarily know how to think and you have to get advice wherever you're at. And so I just really enjoyed them coaching her through that divorce. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, I did too. And having her storyline ends up with them together.
Don't love the ending of that story,
but
particularly.
Also,
but
it's not, obviously not okay.
Yeah.
Absurdist. She's an adult playing a kid. It's all silly from top to bottom. But yes, it ends with Molly Shannon's character basically saying, forget her husband, Ron, that she's going to be with the kid who helped her.
Getting engaged to a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting in a wedding next week, I think she says.
Yeah.
David, what's yours?
I have two. And one is Gene's Journey. That's Christopher Maloney. And I agree with you, Garrett. I almost wonder, I'm sure he doesn't. Obviously, you take a long-term paycheck if you can get it. But I've seen Christopher Maloney in a few other comedy appearances. I almost wonder if he kind of wishes that he had been able to go into like comedies more so.
That's why he left. That's why he left SVU, because I don't know, just a tangent here. He went and did that Happy Show after he left, and it was crazy, man. It was so bananas wild. And I think it was, again, I think he steered too far to the left. But yeah, I think he likes to do comedy, and I think that it's kind of a bummer that he is cast as Hard Cop Stabler.
Yeah, I mean, he pulls off both. I mean, he's good. I think he's a talented actor, but yeah, I think he really loves it. And then, honestly, this might be kind of boring of an answer, but I really like David Hyde Pierce and Janine Garofalo's little storyline. One, David Hyde Pierce to me was, of all the actors that you run down this list, and then you run in and you go, David Hyde Pierce? Like, of all the actors to throw into this group, he doesn't seem to fit. He cracked me up. It's such a basic joke, but he cracked me up when she comes up. She goes, "Can I talk to you, Henry?" He goes, "Please call me Henry." And she goes, "Okay." I was like, I don't know why, but that cracked me up for no number. And like, he's so silly. He goes, "Meet me at the," he goes, "I can't get into it now. Meet me at the picnic table in 10 seconds." Like, it was something about his character just really stood out compared to kind of all the other stoner stuff. That it just kind of worked in a fun way for me. And so while I wasn't super into the Skylab falling out of the sky or whatever, that just, for whatever reason, I thought that was a pretty good storyline.
What about you, Jeff?
I really liked the Kid Marino character story, Victor, who is trying to leave.
He's trying to get laid.
Yeah, well, yeah, but he has to finish a trip first.
Yes.
That is just constantly messed up along the way. But meanwhile, Abby, who he's so desperate to get back to her, she's just like making out with anyone and everyone who is freely available. And seeing that composed next to him, just like trying to fight back, because he wants to be with her.
Right.
He does not care. So that cracked me up the whole way through, seeing her then just like flash over to being with literally anyone. That's
and then being chased by Joe Lotrilio.
Yeah.
Who I also thought
and
was
he's
very
an
funny.
honorable mention to me. I loved his deal in the raft with the kids, and then the way the raft just sat at the top of the waterfall through the whole movie.
Yeah.
I loved.
He jumped out of that raft and said, "Wait here."
I loved the mad dash through the camp to find the phone, and they're just intentionally destroying everything so they can call for help. So yeah, that was one of my favorites. There's a lot. There's just too much ridiculous stuff. I one of my laugh out loud moments, because he doesn't really have a story, but Andy, Paul Rudd, when the kid's friend like drowns, he just takes him off to a field and throws him out the van. And I forgot that happens, and I laughed out loud when the kid just goes.
I thought that was like a weird random insert. I couldn't at first. I was like, "Wait, what just happened?"
Nah, he drove that kid out in the middle of nowhere and dumped him.
He did it twice. He did it twice in that movie. It was the second time where I was like you, David. I was like, "What was that? Did he throw that kid out of there?"
Yeah, he did.
And then he did it again, and I lost it. This movie really. So we talked about Mars Attacks, and how that movie is just kind of a bunch of silly side stories kind of woven together around a central thing. This is something similar, but it's more well done. It's more structured, I think. And I don't necessarily know how they were able to pull it off, whereas, Mars Attacks, for us anyway, didn't really hold up. But this really is, like, there's so many different stories and they all kind of oversect. But the central theme is last day of camp and all the crazy activities that are going on around it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is written as a series of gags that could, in theory, play out in any order. We talk about the Ken Marino storyline. There's this big chase that he does with Joe Trulio, where they're like running on a motorcycle and stuff. And then like that story just disappears for like, I don't know, 50 minutes. Like you just don't see them again. And you could play these things out in any order. You could play them just back to back, like Gale's whole storyline. You could just play back. You could play the whole thing for 12 straight minutes, and it would be over. And I think you look at something like Mars Attacks, which felt like it was trying to follow like A to B to A to B and all these, but you just had so many different side characters and characters going on. It was just too much to really give anybody any time to breathe, which is where this is just like, hey, you've got a 4-minute scene here. Everybody just do what's going to make this exact thing work. And then we're going to move on to the next thing. And it doesn't matter if there's continuity. There's literally 2 scenes back to back where Janine Garofalo's in both scenes, but it doesn't make sense for her to have been in both scenes back to back. It's just like it doesn't care about the continuity, and that's kind of what you have to do if you want to go kind of screwball comedy.
Yeah, I think it's more like because we get a few title cards of time progression throughout the movie. I think they could have, if I were to improve the script, which is not something I think probably this movie cares about, I would probably commit to that a little harder, just so that you could contain those moments more. But I think its whole purpose is like, no, it's 2:43 right now, and until the time changes, this is everything that happened then, in order or not.
Yeah.
So really, that's kind of it in terms of where. No, I mean just like where the plot is going,
I know.
because
Yeah.
the movie is building toward a talent show that could or could not be interrupted by a falling piece of a satellite dish, NASA Skylab thing that David Hyde Pierce is triangulating with like a spam computer, and lands intact. All that stuff's great. But at the same time, we have the talent show where I don't remember his name, but the comic book shop guy from the Big Bang Theory,
Stewart
from the Big Bang Theory, is kind of a very
eccentric.
He's a
young
very
boy.
eccentric camper, and like he spends a lot of the movie speaking in robot. Like he acts like a robot the few times we see him, and at the end he does like his talent show thing. Which might have actually been what saved the camp from the satellite.
Yeah.
See, I don't remember
Because-
this watching it the first time, but truthfully, is he a wizard? Like, what was that? Did he cause the wind gust? Was it a crazy thing? Because I know the computer didn't do it.
Did he?
Because what they were doing, that had like a Doritos bag on it. That wasn't doing nothing. but did that boy cause that wind? Because that's cool. That's cool.
Was it magic or was it a storm?
Honestly, there is, with the way this movie works, it's entirely possible that the Skylab never fell.
Yeah.
This is true. Yeah. Any other
I do
favorite
want
parts?
to.
Moments.
Yeah, I do want to talk about the Andy and Coop and Katie
That
story
triangle,
because
yeah.
because that triangle, the way that it ends is so hilarious and painful at the same time. Where Coop is the nice guy he's lusting after Katie this whole time. You know, he eventually throughout this whole movie is charming her while Andy's off doing a bunch of other stuff, including Elizabeth Banks' character. Like, you know, he's just being a scumbag. And Katie and Coop have a nice little moment where they kiss, and then you get to the end of the movie and he is so confident, man, that he has won her heart. And she basically is like, I'm 16 and Andy's hot, and that's really all I want, bro. Bye. And that was just, it was so funny because that is the truth at that age, I imagine.
Yeah, that's the summer camp romance right there, I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, and at that point she says, I'm 16, and I thought, oh, is she supposed to be 16 this whole time? Like, that's one of the only other, it's a fun joke that they're all adults playing teens. However, early on, it made it really difficult for me to discern who's a camper, who's a counselor, who's supposed to be playing, who's an adult playing an adult, who's an adult playing a teen. Like, so for a while, it just kind of made figuring out what the circumstances were a little tough.
Yeah, you almost have to remember that they are kind of the kids, because the actual kids, the campers, in most storylines are glorified props, really. Like they don't have characters. They're very one-dimensional. They don't matter for the story so much. So it can be
Tell
hard
that
to
to
forget
Gail.
that, but see, I was gonna say most of the stories don't involve them, but that's one of the rare ones that do.
That and the kid who's got a radio that's not connected to anything.
Who won't shower? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did like that kid.
You gotta love the radio, kid. I mean, he'd be podcasting if he could.
Heck yeah. Come on the show.
All right, well, I think that's it. I think that's Wet Hot American Summer. I'm gonna go back and watch the show now. So I'll report.
Is it still on Netflix?
I'm sure it is. It's got to be.
It's a lot of the same cast, right?
It is the same cast, and they made a second one too. But I don't think I ever watched it.
See, and I thought that's what I feel like I watched. So I have to go back and answer some questions that I have.
They do the first day of camp, and then they do 10 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the most recent, but I don't know either.
Yeah.
Because I watched that Netflix one first before I saw this movie. So I'm intrigued to go back and see it all now because it's going to be even funnier because they're even older playing the same age because it's just the first day of that camp. So it's it's like 50-year-old Paul Rudd being 17-year-old Andy.
I love it.
So yeah, I got to go back to that. All right. That is Wet Hot American Summer. Let's give our final ratings and reviews, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess I'll start since it's mine. To me, the movie's stupid, the plot is stupid, it doesn't matter, but it is some of the funniest people of a generation who are like assembled before any of them have really hit their peak. Some of them are like at the precipice of beginning. And so that alone, super enjoyable. I give it a 3.5 for me.
Yeah, I think it's pretty funny at times. But it is just kind of a little messy as well. Like there's just some, and I'll be honest, I struggled to watch this straight through. I just kind of had a lot of interruptions.
Yeah.
So, that might have contributed to it. But I think it's exactly what they set out to do. It feels like a bunch of friends getting together and making a funny movie over the course of a month. I gave it like a 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm in that same range. Not too much else to be said. It's funny people that I enjoy in all aspects of their careers for the most part. I have no real qualms with it. It's very enjoyable. It's really dumb. I'll be on the side of Josh and just up it a little bit to 3.5 as well. Just
a delightful range. I love it. 3 to 3.5 is a good area to be in, I feel like. Let's see what Letterboxd users thought of this movie. Some of the most popular reviews here. We've got 4 stars. Paul Rudd letting 2 kids sink to death and later throwing in the middle of nowhere the kids that saw what he did is cinema at its finest. 4 stars. I don't care that you're bow-legged and I don't care that you're bilingual. That's just a good line. 4.5. Paul Rudd kills at least 2 kids in this movie, and that's why I love cinema. People really love that part.
Yeah.
And then here's for David. 5 stars. The part where they're all just standing against the shed wall, I can't fucking breathe.
They just all up out and then just like.
I didn't understand why they were doing that either.
No, don't matter.
It feels like you want it to be not a joke that like they made for the movie. You want it to be a thing of like, you're going to be off camera, so just go stand in front of the shed and don't move, right? But like, it was a joke that they weren't in on. Like, no, they're totally in camera. This is going to be hilarious.
You hope so.
But I don't know. But it probably wasn't that.
Okay, what do we? Who's guessing first today?
Oh, that's still Garrett.
It's still Garrett.
It's gonna be Garrett for a while.
Okay, I need to remember that until he catches up.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like people will kind of be in the same range that we are, but I feel like it's a pretty solid like 3.5. So that's where I'll be.
Garrett's on a 3.5. Okay.
Josh, what do you think?
Oh, make it me. Oh, that's such a good spot. I think I'm gonna go with 3.2. I know.
These are both solid areas.
I know.
You said 3.5 and 3.2?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say 3. I'll say 3 point. I'll say 3.3.
All right. This is almost a straight line. We got 3.5, 3.2, and 3.3 from us. Let's see here what we got. We've got a direct hit this week. That's 2 direct hits in a row. For those
That's
paying
awesome.
attention.
Summer months, we're heating up on the Letterboxd game.
Heating up.
Mhm.
This, I forgot what it's called. Double? What did we?
Wet Hot American.
What'd you say?
Wet Hot American Summer.
Oh yeah, no, that's not what I was going for. This direct hit goes to Garrett this week. This is a 3.5
Hey!
movie.
Hey,
Right
So
on.
Look
popping
at
you
that.
up on the rankings a little higher there. Get you close.
jeez,
Dude.
even a blind squirrel.
Yep.
I mean, that puts you right up behind Josh now. So, Garrett, you're at 4. Josh is at 6. I'm at 9. So, like, in one
Dang.
in 2
I don't think I knew
episodes,
you
Garrett,
had
you've
9.
turned your fortunes around.
Love it. Love it. All right. Well, that is going to do it for us on this episode. We've got a whole month of summer camp movies lined up for you. So be sure you go check us out online, SoManySequels.com. Go to our Facebook, Instagram, Threads, or TikTok at So Many Sequels Pod there. Let us know your favorite summer camp movies. Let us know what you think of Wet Hot American Summer.
Let me know which one I should pick.
And let Garrett know what movie he should pick, because we're still filling out slots here. We're doing it live, as they say. So check it out, SoManySequels.com. We'll see you guys next time.